So, as promised, I'm going to explain to you the 4 main modes of teaching and learning that I'm going to use on our qualitative methods content for PSYC 13015.
Hey, Bing, no problem.
The next question is...
You're full of questions.
Those 4 modes are pre-recorded mini-lectures, tutorials, Moodle discussion forums, and a core textbook. So let's talk about that first one first, the pre-recorded mini-lectures. So these will either be videos or audio recordings, and they'll be a short format, so kind of like mini-lectures. They'll be lectures in the sense of me talking to you and it being mainly a one-way form of communication. But other than that, they might not look too much like lectures. First, that's because they'll be short. I'll try to keep them around 15 minutes or so, if I can. I'm used to speaking for an hour at a time, so it's tough, but I'll try. And sometimes these videos will be audio only, and audio recordings are quicker for me to make, and some students prefer them because they can access the materials easier. You don't have to be looking at a screen, so you can listen on your commute or walking the dog or when you're cooking dinner. But it does mean you're going to have to engage your imagination because we'll have no accompanying visuals for those recordings. And the big difference from a traditional lecture is that I don't use PowerPoints because I think it's time for something different. We've been using them for at least 30 years now, or something similar to them for probably forever. And I think it's time we move on and accept that content creation is something different these days. Now, both the audio and video is pre-recorded rather than live, so that means you can access them when you want. But what I want you to do is to make sure you access those materials in the week that they're set. So when you see a video link under week 2, try to watch that video in week 2. And I'd also like you to access some of those materials before our tutorial, particularly when I flag in Moodle, for example, when I describe each week's tutorial. If there's something I want you to watch before the tutorial, please try your best to do that. Try not to turn up to the tutorial without watching that material because you won't be able to meaningfully take part in the tutorial and it'll be a bit weird for you. So let me tell you about the second mode of teaching that I'll be using on the unit. These are our tutorials. So these are an important component, and the materials here won't be covered in the pre-recorded materials in the mini lectures because this is where you meet me, but more importantly, you meet your classmates. And we'll be working in small groups and you'll be in discussion with your classmates, and I'm going to set you various activities to do or topics to discuss. So unlike with the mini lectures, I won't be talking much at all. I'll just say hello, I'll let you know what our activities are all about, and I'll just talk you through the agenda for the meeting. I'll do that quite quickly, and then I'll put you into breakout rooms in Zoom, and I may pop into 1 or 2 of the rooms if I can. If there's a lot of us, there's going to be a lot of rooms, so I won't be able to spend much time in each group. But basically, you'll be working in those breakout rooms in a group. And generally in tutorials, that's what we'll be doing. I'm not going to be there as a tutor in the sense of answering your questions. So I generally don't answer questions in tutorials. There's a couple of reasons for this. First, only the people in the tutorial or in the breakout room, if I'm in a breakout room, only those people will benefit from hearing the question and from hearing my answer. But you might say, other people can listen to the recording of the tutorial. Well, I might disappoint you here because we're not going to record our tutorials. And it's because most of the time we'll be in one of a number of breakout rooms and we just can't record each room. The technology doesn't allow us to do that. And it wouldn't be fair to pick a group at random to record because that's not very nice if you're in that group knowing that everyone in the class could be watching you at a later point. It can stifle the discussion. And it's not really ethical to record one group like that. So it's a technical reason and an ethical reason. But more generally, I'm not recording tutorials because the whole point of the tutorial is that you are going to learn through participating in discussion with your classmates. So watching a video of someone else in discussion with their classmates is not going to cut it. You need to experience the discussion yourself, be in the discussion live. But also, you need to be at the tutorial because you'll be communicating via Zoom. So our live tutorials are not face-to-face, they're done over Zoom. And you need to participate in that because it's going to be a good opportunity for you to practice your communication skills in a live Zoom session, because you're going to need that skill for the interview assessment, because there you'll be interacting with another student via Zoom, recording it, and I'll be assessing it. Okay, so I won't be answering questions in our tutorial, and that means you can't come to tutorials and expect to ask me any questions about the assessment, for example. And I also don't want you to email me with your questions. And that's because it doesn't fix that problem of you asking a question and no one other than you getting my answer. No one else will hear the answer. And that's a problem with a large class because people will be getting different advice. But it's also a problem with a large class because we're going to be a large class. It's a problem because we'll need support. Myself, I'll need a little bit of support with the marking, same with Darren. It's likely we're going to have to bring in some colleagues to help us with the marking. And they won't be able to hear those answers to your questions if I'm giving them in tutorials, in small groups, which aren't recorded. Also, it's difficult to pass on emails to other members of staff. It all becomes complicated. So I can't answer questions in tutorials because it's not transparent to other students or to other members of staff. Now, does that mean you're on your own? Well, no, don't worry. You're not on your own because this is where our third mode of learning and teaching comes in, which is the Moodle discussion forums. So I'll set up a Moodle discussion forum for questions about the qualitative component of the unit. So I want you to post your questions on that discussion forum. And that way, when you post a question, everyone will see it. Tutors will see it, I'll see it, but your classmates will also see it, and they'll also see my answer to it. But I'd also like you to have a go at answering your classmates' questions yourself. Don't worry, I'll step in if you give them the wrong answer, and I won't, I'll be nice about it. I won't call you an idiot. So don't worry about getting wrong answers from classmates. But I'd love you to try to answer your classmates' questions. There's two good reasons for this. It's a good way of testing your own understanding of the materials and of the assessment tasks, but also it's peer support, and it's a really effective method of learning when you're learning from your peers. And the other thing is that I can't answer questions quickly on the forum. It's because I'm not the only person teaching on the unit. I'm involved in teaching other units, and I've got work outside of this unit. So I don't have a 24/7 presence. So I might only be able to get to the forums a couple of times a week. So you might have a couple of days to wait for my answer. So if classmates are helping each other out and trying to answer each other's questions, you might find that you get the answers quicker than waiting for me. Okay, now on to our final mode of teaching, which is our textbook. So the set text for the qualitative component of the unit is the text by Braun and Clark. Now I'm going to make another video about the textbook because you need to approach that text in a particular way. Basically what I'll be telling you is that the textbook is not a replacement for the other teaching methods we'll use. You know, the pre-recorded teaching videos or the tutorials or the Moodle forums. And it's because each teaching mode supplements the other. None of them replaces any of the others. So if you miss a tutorial thinking that information will be in the textbook or in the pre-recorded lectures, you'll be wrong. And if you don't check the Moodle forums thinking any questions asked there will be answered in tutorials, you'll be wrong. Same goes for the textbook and the pre-recorded lectures. If you don't read the textbook, don't expect to get that information from the pre-recorded lectures because it's not going to be there. So the 4 modes function as supplements to each other and none can replace any other. So you need to access all 4. And if you access all 4 of them, you'll do great. Okay, so our first mode is coming up soon, which will be the tutorial. And if you're able to come along to the tutorial, that would be great. I'll see you there. Until then, ta-da.